Sveiki visi, tikiuosi girdžiuosi gerai. Esu Kęstutis Meškonis iš įmonės Bluebridge, vyresnysis sistemų inžinierius konsultantas. Ir šiandien turėsim su partneriais iš Fortineto pranešimą Practical Approach to Application and Cloud Security. Su mumis šiandien bus partneris Timo Lochinoje. Timo turbūt daugelis gerai pažįstat, ne kartą yra kalbėjęs mūsų konferencijose, Fortineto pranešimuose. Taigi, hi Timo.
Hello.
Tai prezentacija šiandien bus anglų kalba. Aš truputį padarysiu trumpą įvadą į aktualiją ir perduosiu žodį Timo. Tai jūs klausimus rašykit susirašinėjimo lange, čato lange. Galite lietuvių kalbą, galite anglų kalbą. Jeigu lietuvių, aš pabaigoje pranešimo išversiu mūsų pranešėjai. Taigi, turbūt jau ir pradedam 2 minutės po. Panašu, kad mano prezentacijos gal dar nesimato. Arba ne tas ekranas. Sekundėlę. Taigi, šiandien dieną iš tikrųjų nemažai įmonių ir organizacijų jau naudojasi debesų kompiuterijos paslaugomis. Kai kurie klientai yra, kurie visą savo IT infrastruktūrą yra realizavę dalyse, debesyse, kai kurie dalinai. Tai aplikacijų sauga viešoji debesų kompiuterija yra aktuali kaip niekada. Tai šiandien dienai turbūt dauguma informacinių sistemų aplikacijų veikia HTTP protokolo pagrindu, tiek web aplikacijos, tiek apie yra populiarūs šiandien dienai. Tai yra sritis, kur slepiasi tie pažeidžiamumai, pavadinkim jos vaiduokliais. Tai web aplikacijose tai gali būti tiek įvesties validavimo klaidos padarytos programuotojų, tiek blogai implementuota kriptografija, sesijos valdymas, autentifikavimo mechanizmas ar autorizavimo. Panašios sritis, kur slepiasi problemos susijusios ir su apiais, tai vėl ta pati autentifikacija, autorizacija, injekcijos manomos. Jeigu paimti klasikinę aplikaciją, prie kurių mes visi buvom labai pratę daugybę metų ir toje aplikacijoje randam pažeidžiamumų, tai pažeidžiamumų, kadangi yra daug iš įvairių kategorijų, tai galima sugrupuoti tam tikras dalis, tai yra pažeidžiamumai, kurie nukreipti prieš klientinę pusę. Kaip taisyklė, tai yra žemo arba vidutinio lygio pažeidžiamumai klasifikuojami. Aplikacijų pažeidžiamumai, kurie nukreipti prieš serverio pusę, jeigu jie yra nukreipti prieš duomenų bazės, kaip SQL injekcijos, NoSQL injekcijos, dažniausiai tai yra aukšto lygio pažeidžiamumai. Ir patys skausmingiausi arba patys jautriausi dalykai, kurių mes bijom aplikacijose klaidų, tai susiję pažeidžiamumai, kurie liečia operacinę sistemą, tai dalis tų pažeidžiamumų, kaip taisyklė, leidžia prieiti prie failų sistemos. Įprastoji architektūrai ne debesyje, o privačiame duomenų centre. Tai tokie klasifikuojami kaip aukšto lygio pažeidžiamumai, kuomet pažeidžiamumai aplikacijų leidžia vykdyti kodą operacinės sistemos lygmenyje. Tai jau yra kritiniai pažeidžiamumai vaiduokliai, patys pavojingiausi. Web aplikacijų pažeidžiamumų yra daug ir įvairių. Tai įprastiniai infrastruktūrai, kaip minėjau, pavojingiausi yra tie pažeidžiamumai, kurie leidžia vykdyti operacinės sistemos lygmenyje kodą. Tai šitoje skaidriai pavaizduoti raudonai, tai SQL injekcijos tam tikrais atvejais leidžia pasiekti kodo vykdymą, nesaugus bylų įkėlimas, nesaugi deserializacija, serverio pusės templėtų injekcijos arba JavaScriptų injekcijos serverio pusėje. Tai šito mes bijom labiausiai, kai mūsų aplikacija yra on-premise. Tačiau su su aplikacijų, kai aplikacija yra debesyje, atsiranda nauji vaiduokliai, nors iš tikrųjų tai yra tie patys klasikiniai pažeidžiamumai, kaip direktorijos išvengimas, XML nuorodų įterpimas ar serverio pusės užklausų klastojimas, kas įprastai on-premise aplikacijų skaitoma kaip aukšto lygio pažeidžiamumas, tačiau rizikos skaliai, kadangi tai liečia tik tais bylų sistemą, failų sistemą, dažniausiai galima nuskaityti bylas iš operacinės sistemos, tai nėra kritiniai pažeidžiamumai. Tačiau, kai mes kalbam apie aplikacijos saugumą debesyje, viešajam debesyje, tai šie pažeidžiamumai įgauna naują reikšmę, tai jie leidžia kaip taisyklė vogti prieigos raktus, aplikacijų, apie sąsajų prieigos raktus ir tokiu būdu įsilaužėlis viešos debesų kompiuterijoje gali judėti lygiagrečiai tarp blogai sukonfigūruotų servisų, tai yra saugyklų, ar tai būtų Azure blobsai, ar tai AWS S3 saugyklos, taip pat gali judėti į duomenų bazės viešuosiuose debesyse. Taigi šitie pažeidžiamumai tampa kritiškesni ir reikia nepamiršti, kad aplikacijos debesyje taip pat lieka ir kiti pažeidžiamumai, kurie mums buvo kritiniai, kai mūsų aplikacija gyveno ne debesyje, o mūsų privačiame duomenų centre. Taigi rizikų padidėja, tai jeigu tie patys pažeidžiamumai mūsų nuosavam duomenų centre aplikacijos turi rizikos lygį aukštą arba klasifikuojami 7-8 balais rizikos skalėje iš 10, tai ta pati aplikacija arba tas pats pažeidžiamumas atsiradęs viešoji debesų kompiuteryje, jis jau traktuojamas kaip kritinis pažeidžiamumas ir tai yra 10 iš 10. Todėl aplikacijų sauga viešuosiuose debesyse patampa ypač aktuali, nes rizika padidėja gerokai. Kodėl Fortinet? Iš tikrųjų, viešosios debesų kompiuterijos paslaugų tiekėjai didžiausi iš tikrųjų turi savo saugumo paslaugas, savo saugumo produktus, kuriuos galima imti, naudoti ar pirkti ir naudoti. Tai kaip pavyzdys turi savo aplikacijų ugnesinės vafas. Ir jei paimtumėm visiems gerai žinomą klasikinę ataką kaip SQL injekcija, tai praktiškai visi rinkoje esantis web aplikacijų, visos rinkoje esančios web aplikacijų ugnesinės, tokią ataką tikrai užblokuos ir sureaguos. Tačiau realybėj pas vienus iš didžiausių tiekėjų debesų kompiuterijos, naudojantis jų teikiamos apsaugos funkcijomis, jos yra labai lengvai apeinamas, naudojant atgalinio brūkšnio ženklą ir apsaugos tokiu atveju nesuveikia. Tiesa, turbūt kai kurie pasakysit, kad ir nesuveiks ir SQL užklausa, nes jį taps ir nevalidi. Tai yra tas atakos kodas taps nepavojingas, nors ir bus apeinama web aplikacijų ugnesinė. Ir 8 ar 9 atvejais iš 10 jis bus įteisus. Bet tuo atveju, kai duomenų bazė yra Postgres, šita ataka ne tik apeis web aplikacijų ugnesinė, bet taip pat sėkmingai bus įterpta į SQL sintaksę. Taigi reikia naudoti specializuotus produktus, gamintojai, kurie dirba su apsaugos sprendimais daug metų, fokusuojasi ir Fortinetas yra vienas iš jų. Ir perdodu žodį Timo. Timo, it's your turn. Please share your screen.
Okay, I will do that. That was a good explanation, even though I didn't understand the language then. The content was interesting. So I will go to the screen share. We'll see my screen. So, can you see my screen? And that's the question before we go. So, actually, I took a huge bite of information that I kind of promised to deliver here. For the last 3 years or so, I've spent a lot of time in the application security world, but in the cloud. And it's a different thing. Like, there was already a very good background. So if you have something that is a medium kind of risk that is exposed in on-prem, and once you take it to cloud, things change. It will become critical. A lot of those things that have been hosted and handled locally and local basic, let's say, private cloud environment or traditional data center, how you will or want to say that, we see that a lot of that is now being taken into cloud. And there are a lot of things that need to be considered once you take your applications to cloud. In the core of my presentation, where I will eventually get, is the application security in the cloud and API security. But there's a lot of things to consider before you start even considering, is your cloud 100% secure, or at least in the same security level as it was when it was more hosted in traditional environments. So cloud itself is very personal. So when there is transition to cloud, a lot of companies are doing this for business reasons, but different departments, different business units in a company have different reasons to go cloud. Many times security is not part of this process, and it's very unfortunate. So when we look at the bigger picture, security is considered to be a major factor when you take your stuff into cloud, but it's never a part of the process when cloud is being adapted. A lot of times we see the process that way, that there's evening up of the whole security requirement to whatever level cloud is able to provide the security. So if we look at the cloud native tools that clouds are providing, the level goes rather low. So when you go for basic level security that can be built while you move your stuff to the cloud, are normally made with the cloud native tools. But once you start operating your business and your applications in the cloud, you need to level up your security. So you need to basically take steps forward to provide better security than you had before. Many times the standard is actually getting a lot lower than it had been before when cloud is being adapted. And this is kind of interesting finding from the Nordic market, at least from my perspective. I would expect, and one would expect, that the security is at least in the same level than it was before you went to the cloud. And there would be also some interconnectivity and interfunctionality between the security solutions that you still have in the on-premise environment, because that's not going away by any means. And then that would work together with the cloud entities as well. That's not the case a lot of the times when we face these processes. And a lot of times the security is actually afterthought, something that is being thought afterwards. We need security, but the environment is already existing there. And it's always a lot more challenging to do security afterwards than it would be in the meantime when the process is starting and the project is starting that will take one of the major clouds into use or some SaaS environment. Fortinet has a vision where we promise to keep our customers away from the newspaper articles and internet articles where they've been hacked. So we want to make security easy and possible in any environment, wherever the information might reside. That's why we have our mission. And this is critical to understand why Fortinet is doing things like we do. Also, in perspective of my presentation, we want to secure all the people, all the devices, and all the data anywhere. So when we are involved in the picture, we want to provide those solutions, kind of the toolkit that you can use and utilize to make your security better. And we also understand that it's not about the tools only. There are people, and then there are processes. So you need to consider the processes and people, but then when you have a good tools, you can make very good results. That's why when we talk about cloud security, we need to understand that most of the enterprises, most of the organizations in the world are already in multi-cloud. It doesn't need to be a big organization to be in multi-cloud environment, meaning that you have your data in multiple locations. And information security is about securing information. It's securing data, metadata, everything around it. So to get your security policies consistent, to make your security consistent in on-premise environments and in the cloud, it's today's one of those big challenges that need to be answered. When your applications are living in the cloud, they are being hosted from the cloud and they are being published from the cloud. Of course, you need to have all the surrounding security in required level before you start considering the application security itself. API security and application security are heavily dependent on the surrounding security solutions as well. So misconfiguration happens all the time. So I saw this weird article a couple of weeks ago where one of those major cloud CTOs said that any customer can build their security solutions using the cloud native tools. How many customers actually have those people that can do it and are actually able to support that solution and maintain the solution? They are very few, and the cloud native security solution doesn't extend outside of the cloud. So if you have something that is built for that cloud environment, you just build yourself a heavy vendor lock, which means that you cannot really move to another cloud, or at least move that environment as it is into another cloud. So there's a lot of reasons why security should be built consistent that way, that you have also security solutions in place that are something that you can transfer or clone or implement in any environment in a similar manner to get those consistent security policies and security visibility, so you can react and do remediation accordingly. Also, it makes the visibility a lot more better. And in the optimal case, you don't need to teach your people manage more than one vendor security solution or one solution as it is. It doesn't even have to be one vendor, but solution that is working together, whatever the components are, and it will work in any environment in the same way. Let me explain that a little bit later. And the multi-cloud, we have the solution. We have solutions in place where you can do security exactly the same way, no matter what the environment is. That's what we've been doing as Fortinet. 3 years ago, when I came to Fortinet, I didn't know this. We didn't have this story in place, but then we had a lot of customers already back then doing security in multiple different cloud environments exactly the same way, without requirement to re-educate everybody to do things differently. Not everybody needs to know exactly how the cloud works if you're just managing the security solution or maintaining the security solution. We have 3 areas where we play in cloud security. There's the network security, of course. Then we have the platform security to make sure that the environment is okay, your setup in the cloud is okay, and then we have the application security. The magic there is that we actually use APIs for everything. So when we go to cloud environment, we do adaptive cloud security. We work as part of the cloud environment. That's what we do there. It doesn't matter if the cloud is on-prem or if it's one of those major public cloud vendors, it will always work the same way and have always the same visibility. The challenge using APIs is that public clouds have different levels of APIs. Sometimes we see in the public cloud that the API is super slow, which means that the information delivered through API is not always real time. These will take some time to get mature. From the public cloud side, their APIs will start to function in real time. These days, we need to be very understanding, is the solution really a real-time solution or not when we do security? Because security should be real time, so we can give real-time responses. But if the APIs are slow, it will affect the solution. This is roughly the situation where we are right now. And thanks to Corona, thanks to this pandemic, a lot of those cloud environments have got a lot more load, which wasn't there before the pandemic. So now we see that the cloud providers don't have those infinite resources, which they have talked about a lot, but also that creates different kind of challenges, which the slowness of the APIs it's one. Cloud adaptation models and trends that we see in the customer base, going from very traditional solutions to more mature and, let's say, cloud-first ideas. The first thing that is always implemented into cloud from Fortinet portfolio is our FortiGate to get secure connectivity and get the segmentation of cloud in place. Then there's the email security. That is normally something that is realized that, oh crap, there's 96% of all malicious stuff coming through email. So email needs to be secured. And email has been a cloud application for at least last 10 years. So at least now it's good time to make sure that your email is secure. There's a lot of ways to do that. Most of the customers from our perspective are in M365, where there is great email security, but not great enough. There is a great email service, but the email security could be better. So when we do somehow testing into this one, there has been SC Labs, for example, last year, and also this year, there's most probably coming SC Labs if Microsoft allows that, where there's a testing how the email security is relevant there. Getting into web application firewalling means that there is the maturity level and majority level being accomplished. So you're getting where majority of our customers are, meaning that they have platform security in place with SaaS applications and with public cloud. Then you get to the web application firewalling, and also replacing the ADC implementations, meaning basic load balancing provided by the cloud with the real ADC solutions as well. Then you get the security automation, and then there's container security and serverless security. Maybe next year we will talk about those. This time I'm not going to spend time with that. If you want to have a discussion of that, we can have it separately some other time. What happens in cloud implementations? They are fast. So when you have security there, it cannot be something that slows down the process. It needs to be part of the process. Any security solution that is being implemented in cloud has to be CI/CD pipeline compatible and automated security solution compatible. And the preference is that also native integration with whatever cloud environment you are should happen through API. So talking about email security, well, Microsoft 365 is providing great email service, but not so great email security these days. Main reason there is that there's actually a lot of hackers and malicious parties doing stuff where they test their malicious software or payloads against Microsoft 365 service, which will make it even weaker and more exposed for these kind of tools. Well, we as Fortinet, we've had a really good solution in place for years, over 10 years, called FortiMail, where we use machine learning, and same things that we actually use for email security are being applied to web application security as well. Same AI, same machine learning capabilities, same threat information, because there's a lot of similarities there. And email is an application. It's important application to be secured. Many times, like I said earlier, the level of security requirements is taken down to the level whatever cloud can provide. And this is a very good example of that. We have a solution here. We can do API clawback, API integration into email application, in this case, M365, where we can do email security over API using Graph API, which is a real-time API. And we can do security over that. We can also check what you have lying in your email. So what's inside your email. So it means that we can do risk analysis to your email security posture. Once we have visibility and once we have understanding what is in your email security, we can do reports out of it. Our customers are actually very happy with Fortinet as a solution. And to make your email more secure, you secure your whole company, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a big company. It doesn't have to be an enterprise level company. You just need to keep your email secure. 96% of bad stuff comes through that. And then once you want to explain to your C-level people why this is important, we do CTAP reporting for email. So before we even go deeper into cloud security, email security should be already fixed. I thought 20 years ago that this will be fixed soon, but 20 years later, it hasn't been still fixed. So now there's a good way of doing that. And we have this zero-touch reporting available for this one. Even though it says North America only, there is also a version of this coming for EU soon. So when we go to cloud security, why it's being done? The notion of doing cloud security, in early 2000s, nobody cared about cloud security. Then once cloud became available, the shared risk, shared responsibility model made, let's say, a lot of people, a lot of companies aware that there's a different risk sharing and risk factors when we go to cloud. So we have already seen that majority of cloud issues with security are because of the lower standards of the security or lower understanding how clouds are being configured, because a lot of times the API part or even just everyday management is a little bit confusing. That's why we see a lot of those S3 buckets, for example, or Azure blob storages being published to whole world, even that's not the idea of those people that are maintaining it. But there's a lot of human errors that we see there. But there's also a lot of things that you still need to take care of, like the data security, like the application security, like the network segmentation, very basic security solutions. You still need to take care of that. It doesn't go away when you go to cloud. Of course, there's difference. Are you in infrastructure as a service or are you in a software as a service? The requirements and things that you can affect are changing a little bit. But there's always the user entity part. You can do behavioral analytics. You can do content analysis. You can enforce multi-factor authentication. All those good practices that everybody working in information security know. That should be taken care of. But like being said, email security is important. So you should look after that part as well. So going from endpoint security towards the cloud security, there has been huge steps towards the endpoint security, but also network security has changed over time towards the cloud security solutions that we have today. Today, we are talking already about zero trust network access and everything around it. So cloud security is an evolution. So some people say that your data center is moving into cloud. Some people are saying that those applications are moving into cloud. It can be either way. There's no correct answer there. But security should also transform and move also cloud in a similar way. So security is transforming. No matter is it about endpoints or network or is it about cloud security, it's transforming all the time. And we see more and more identity-based security solutions which are heavily relying into the threat intelligence information. If you have a security solution, but you have bad threat intelligence, your solution, no matter how good it's otherwise technically, becomes a bad solution momentarily until you get good data. Identity is important because we need to know what are the devices and who are the people or entities using the services. If it's about web application security, identity is in the center of those use cases, or API use cases. Identity in a similar way is important. Same thing now in networks. Now when network security is more and more zero trust access rather than traditional network security, identity is playing a bigger part all the time. So what we do in the application security perspective in the cloud, it's one of our 3 pillars of security. Platform security is important because we want to know before we touch into cloud environment that the basic stuff is okay before you start doing your application security. And then when you have connectivity and you have a network still on the cloud, of course you need to make sure that that security is something else than just ACLs. So you need to make sure that you have intelligent solution there that can respond to different kind of threat issues and also segment the cloud network, for God's sake. What happens in Agile Cloud? You have your application developers, they don't care about security. You have your traditional cloud people, they don't care about security, they care about, let's say, the management model of the cloud. So the governance model of the cloud is more important than the security. Governance model doesn't really look into the security. It doesn't take any stance in security. It's about how you manage your cloud, how you keep your cloud in control. But security, if there is any, is in a very small role of the governance model. That's why you need to have some tool that is doing real-time risk analysis to your cloud environment. We call ours FortiCWP, that is the workload protection, meaning that we protect the environment where your applications and APIs are being run. So doing this in risk management sense is not expensive by any means, but super necessary. The benefits that you get from this real-time visibility, what happens in the cloud, are amazing. So you should have definitely something like this in place. And you don't need to install to your clouds anything. This is just pure API. You get visibility what you have in the cloud. You can do automated remediations, and you can do automated reports and alarms, what's being happening in the cloud, what happens in the cloud at the moment. And also you can say, are you compliant for different things like GDPR or ISO 27001, for example. This is done with cloud native tools. So there's no Fortinet entity in the cloud, and only part that is Fortinet is the processing of the information. And we can get simultaneous visibility to AWS and Azure and Google Cloud at the moment. And you can have your security architect that doesn't know anything about clouds, but knows everything about security. And it can ask from the tool, what's the situation with the security at the moment in the cloud? Very handy thing, because you get dashboard view what happens there. This is SaaS software. You don't need to host any of this. We are hosting this for you in EU, in Ireland, and also in Germany, in my understanding. So basically you get real-time visibility. What is your current security standing in different environments? You get visibility of your resources, nice graphic views on that. You can see what kind of documents you have there, which kind of content they are carrying. You can do your own policies and risk assessment rules over there. And of course, you can see the rules that have been created, the standard rules, and you can do your own specific rules, and then you can do alerts for those. And then you see activity, who's been using the cloud, so user entity part as well. Very, very interesting. So cloud is actually providing a new edge. We used to have those network edges, but now we have a lot more edges. We have mobile network edges. We have those cloud edges in different forms of cloud delivery. And the application edge is one edge that is being affected by the network edge. It's being affected by the identity edge, for example, and there's the API edge. So there's a lot of edges to be protected. Somebody said the edges will go away. It didn't happen. Now there's a lot more edges than we expected. So how to do edge protection from the network perspective? when your applications are being hosted in the cloud, you want to make sure that the network is secure. You need to have centralized management for it. You can build Cloud Security Services Hub that is taking care of the network security, but you can have also your application security and API security implemented into one place, and you can have an agreement that some entity will look after this part. So your network segmentation within the cloud and connectivity from the cloud to the internet and to the on-premise environments can be taken care in one place. And this means that those people that are doing the management, NOC and SOC function for this Cloud Security Services Hub don't need to understand anything about cloud, which is a good thing. You can, of course, train those people to understand what happens to the cloud otherwise, but just do security monitoring and maintenance and maybe the NOC functions, well, you don't necessarily need to do that initially. That can be a long-term plan. Very handy, and this has been very powerful all over the places where we have done this. It actually gives us a lot of understanding about the network activity between the on-premise environments and within the cloud, of course, between different projects, between different applications, different layers of the applications. It gives you 100% visibility within the cloud with standardized logging, which goes way beyond those ACLs that are being provided by the clouds. And also the knowledge that you already have for the on-premise implementations is there. And at the same time, you're securing your applications and your data that is in the cloud. Plus, you get very good connectivity to your on-prem environments using the SD-WAN. And now in the days of pandemia, you can also terminate your client VPN connections to the cloud and have that termination point and access point to everywhere else being hosted in the cloud by doing this. You can have your firewalls here, you can have your email security here, your sandboxing, your web application firewalling, your ADCs. You can have everything there. They are virtualized, they are being run in the cloud. If you are multi-cloud, you can do multi-cloud SD-WAN, so you can provide connectivity for your applications. You might have some application development happening in Azure, but you publish those from AWS or from Google. You build interconnectivity using SD-WAN in the background, and the clouds are not natively doing this. They are just offering very, very, very basic VPN connectivity. This allows us to do centralized management, understanding how the connectivity from your on-premise to the cloud and between the clouds will happen, how the applications are performing, how they are feeling in the cloud. Plus, you can see the session statistics, how the applications are being utilized and which connections they are being taken. So using SD-WANs has a lot of benefits there. Once you have those things in place, you can have same rules using metadata. So using the tagging in different clouds. So you can have Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, Oracle Cloud, all those working the same way. And you can guarantee the security. You get good logs, you get good visibility, and you can react to your findings in the same way. And you can segment your clouds, of course. And magic there is doing the API integration into cloud. Then it will start looking something like this. You have your branch locations, you have your cloud infrastructure, and you have your traditional data center. They are transparently interconnected between everything. This is very powerful. Then you can guarantee the quality of experience for the users. They don't need to know what the applications or data is. It will just function, and the connectivity is secure. Okay, we have an innovation there. Where we guarantee that if you have any issues with the connectivity, it can fix itself. So to access your applications, you want to guarantee the connectivity is secure. And if the different components of the applications are distributed over multiple clouds or multiple locations, you want to make sure that that connectivity is there. There is also a new thing, which I'm not going to touch this time. There's a SASE entity, which means the Secure Access Service Edge, where you can have everything always available using this firewall as a service plus SD-WAN implementation. That's something that's going to be the future of every connected solution very soon. So be aware. We will talk about that in some future session. Not today though, but it's very, very interesting where that world is going. So in the present situation, still more traditional solutions are being utilized. SASE solutions are not mature by any means. And we have seen a lot of that discussion and promises around that, but all SASE solutions are less than 1 year old. So yeah, it will take some time before we can call them mature. Zero trust access actually relates to application security heavily. So we want to access the applications with secure devices, and we want to guarantee that those devices that are accessing don't include any malicious information. We want to make sure that the user entities are who they say they are. So that's in core of everything. SASE is actually zero trust as a service in one perspective, but that's why we're going to talk about that later. Now the real beef. So what's worth of information, or what's worth of protection in web applications? Well, the web application itself, you got a very good preface before I started my session. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that could go wrong in web applications. There's a lot of vulnerable components in a web application. API is now a bigger risk factor than the web application itself. So API is actually a bigger attack surface than the web applications of the world, because there's a lot more APIs in the world than there are web applications at the moment. So protecting APIs against bot networks and malicious parties is very important. So what we do in the API protection as Fortinet, we have two products that have API security features. One is our ADC and one is our FortiWeb. Both of those can act as API gateways, and they can do heavy-duty API security. Why API security is important? Well, it's HTTP traffic in the end. It might be over TLS, or it's just HTTP traffic. So there are multiple things that could be done. We could verify what's the components and what's the content that is being delivered over API, and is it malicious or not. We can also verify the users, so we can deliver that connectivity to only certain part of the web application core in the back end. So meaning API gateway. The requirement for this is there. And most of this year, most of the web application security projects where I've been involved always involve API gateway. And the better the visibility and understanding from the threat factors, the better the API gateway. And none of those cloud native ones provide the security portion, they just provide the API portion. If you have security requirements, you need a security product to do that API security. So that's where we are coming along. JSON, XML, SOAP, OpenAPI, or mobile APIs, in all of those, we can provide security as part of the API gateway, plus kick-ass API gateway functionality. Something that we are presenting later this year, there's going to be machine learning-based API security. It will happen around summertime when we are coming out with our machine learning-based API security, where we are actually building mathematical models of the APIs to recognize, let's say, malicious activity. Malicious activity or different kind of activity according to which we can decide, is this worth of deeper analysis or not? If there's a deeper analysis requirement, after that, there will be blocking if there will be blocking. So according to mathematical models, there's just the recognition of anomalies in the APIs. Same thing that we do with the web applications at the moment. The coolest thing about our web application firewall is definitely machine learning. You don't need to do this. So when there's a new application, you don't need to call your web application firewall administrator to fix your web application firewall so the end users could enjoy the code that was pushed by the web application developer. Our machine learning that we've been using now for 3 years is making the same process happen like this, where there's just a new code and the application is available. Machine learning will just relearn the application automatically, building a mathematical model for each and every component, each and every parameter in the web application, while the application is functional for the whole time. This has nothing to do with auto learning. This is the legacy feature that most of the web application firewalls these days are using anyways. This will make a really fast cycles possible. You can have your CI/CD pipeline and it will function. Cool thing about the web application firewall that we do, which is called Fortinet, it can be part of the web application. So it can be containerized as part of the web application. You get the same functionality also through the SaaS service, or you can have it as a virtual machine. You can have the virtual machine in the public cloud or in the private cloud, or you can have a security appliance. All of those solutions have exactly the same features. SaaS solution, what makes that very unique is that it's service as a code. So basically taking a new service into the SaaS service takes only 5 minutes and it's up and running. It even builds the HTTPS certificates for you. It will use just open services like Let's Encrypt to get you covered with your certificate. You can, of course, deliver your own certificate, but if you don't have any, it will just use Let's Encrypt in the background. And we are actually doing our hosting in all of those 3 public clouds. So if your application is in Azure, we will host our solution in Azure near your application. Same thing in AWS or Google. So we will always pick the closest location where we will do our hosting for the web application firewall, that you're just paying for the capacity or number of protected sites. And it has all those API security features over there. What this makes possible is to have any application protected in any location where they are. There's a lot of technical depth in the web application firewalling world, and I don't want to bore you with those. If you want to get deeper with that, let's have a meeting and I will get deeper into that. You can also utilize our local guys from Lithuania to have that. But there is a possibility to do security in a network, in a platform, and in the application the same way, no matter where the applications actually are. The main thing there is to actually kill the kill chain in earliest possible phase. So before attack, we want to already be there and stop the attacks. Of course, if there has been something that has got through the defenses, we want to stop it before there is any long-term consequences with the attack. That's always the importance. And that's why you need to have something that is automated, because people are not able to kill the kill chain. People are too slow to do this. You need a lot of technology and a lot of automation to actually kill the kill chain over there. For cloud security, we have a lot of references. We have a lot of ideas how you could do it. We have all the tools. We have all the integration. Just ask us and we will explain better those solutions and more in depth. Still, the fact is that our core story is around our security fabric. It's about open APIs. It's about doing native integration, doing native automation, and take along other vendors and other solutions into the security solutions that you are building in your cloud and in your on-premise environment. We keep things open, but these days it's more and more about cloud security and zero trust, not forgetting that network security will still follow. None of these services that we are using these days don't work without networks. Of course, the role of the network is changing, but keeping it secure doesn't go away anyways. That's why I'm going to say a teaser about SASE. SASE is something that's coming hard this year, meaning that we do a lot of that security that was previously done in data center edge. We will do it on the way to the cloud, keeping those applications secure and keeping those connections secure, keeping those endpoints secure. For the future, there's going to be difference in peering because of SASE. SASE is providing nice peering network capabilities, but it also provides same security features that you had in the firewall before as a cloud service on your way to the cloud, plus dedicated connection to the different cloud platforms, not going through the internet anymore because of the peering network. There's a lot of cool stuff that will happen there. Also, there's a new evolution which will change firewalls into access proxies. This is happening. And this already kind of happened from our side when we announced our FortiOS 7.0. So FortiOS is now in the center of everything, and it's actually the center point of the zero trust access. This is also important to understand. From the networking perspective, it doesn't really go away. When you want to protect your applications, if you have a weak network security, it will make other security weak as well. So, adaptive cloud security, where we are coming along. We want to protect the email. We want to protect the web application firewall, the web applications, publishing those securely, providing global availability, using global load balancing, doing the workload protection, kind of covering all the bases. So that all the environment plus the application and all the entities there. We provide the tools for it. You just need to go and pick your own, which you're going to need. There's no other vendor out there that has this kind of toolkit available. And all these tools are good. So you just need to test them and figure out what's the role of this tool in your implementation, if any. And it's part of the DevOps, of course. So this is splitting into those three areas: network, platform, and application. Keeping different applications that you're using every day secure is important. If you have something that is already cloud native, AWS is such a place where you can do things where we actually replace the existing solution engines or part of the engine, and you can still continue using the cloud native part. This kind of a cloud native integration is one way how we can do it, but we can't replace the engine completely there. So there's certain limitations there. If you're interested about that, we can have discussion of that also outside of this. The cloud native integration, it's actually pretty wide, where we can be part of the cloud of those components that you have already implemented. In some cases, we can be the replacement, and in some cases, we are just the extension of that solution without the requirement of changing the existing implementation. In long term, you can change it, but initially, you don't necessarily need to change it. So the AI-powered things in the background, it goes from the network to the application to automated response to, well, FortiAI as SOC analyst in there. Virtual SOC analyst is also a product that we do. We have our full-blown AI engine that we've been building for the last 10 years, and it's been in our use for 10 years already, so it's not for sureware by any means. So whatever you might be doing, when you have those findings, everything that you do around web applications is producing logs. You should analyze your logs and figure out, is there something that your security solution somehow missed before? We have that open ecosystem, and this makes things very different. When you do security, it's important to exchange information with the surroundings that you have to keep the environment secure. There are a couple of things that you will find from the slides. I skipped a couple of things historically, but the main new thing that we just announced is our FortiOS 7.0, and it has a lot of new features related to the zero trust and to the cloud security. Please have a check what those are, and then come up with knowledgeable questions, and we will definitely answer those. I have nothing else for this one. there's a lot of information, and yeah, hopefully that was good information for you, and hopefully you learned something new.
Tikiuosi mane girdit. Thanks, Timo, for your presentation. I have a couple more slides to show. Kodėl Blue Bridge? Ką galime pasiūlyti, tai iš tikrųjų esam Fortineto sprendimų integratoriai tiek įprastos infrastruktūrose, tiek debesų kompiuterijos. Taip pat atliekame įsilaužimo testavimo paslaugas, teikiame tiek web aplikacijoms, tiek apie sąsajoms. Taip pat pradėjom teikti debesų kompiuterijos įsilaužimo testavimo paslaugas, tai Amazonui ir Azure paslaugoms. Galbūt galėtų kilti klausimas, Fortinetas turi daug gerų sprendimų ir iš tikrųjų jos galite įsigyti viešų debesų kompiuterijų parduotuvėlėse, marketplace'uose. Kodėl reikėtų pirkti iš Blue Bridge'o? Tai jeigu žiūrėti vien tik iš tos finansinės pusės, tai pirkti per Blue Bridge'ą, per partnerį yra pigiau ir gaunasi geresnės kainos, negu pirkti tiesiai iš debesų parduotuvių. Taigi, pereikim tada prie klausimų. Let's switch to question answer session. Timo,
Yes.
Question to you. Thanks, Arimas, for very good questions. Arimas is asking, you talk about how defensive works in your platform. How about offensive side? Is Fortinet have something like tools like Zap Proxy or Burp Suite to do some pen test jobs for applications? So maybe about 40 pen test services and solution?
Yes, we have thing called Forti Pen Test. So we have our own pen testing team, plus we have pen testing tool. So there is such a tool called Forti Pen Test. If you want to test it, you can ask locally for testing licenses for that. So it's a vulnerability scanner from cloud. It's actually integrated with our Forti Web as a service, but our Forti Web and Forti ADC both include free of charge vulnerability scanners. So when you do application security, you can have the scanner already directly from the ADC and from Forti Web without any extra cost. As far as you have the solution, you can use the scanner from there. Or if you want to have that centralized solution, then there's Forti Pen Test. That being said, we've been developing Forti Pen Test towards any kind of applications. The latest big development there is that we do SAP security over that tool. It's actually very nice addition to our portfolio. Plus, we have our own team. So if you want to ask or buy from our side, this kind of concentrated professional attack to your environment, we have such a thing in our professional service portfolio as well.
Thanks, Timo. One more question about FortiMail and FortiSIEM integration. Mm-hmm. What integration features are supported, and what automation features can do FortiSIEM in context of FortiMail?
Well, there's two log analysis tools that are integrating to FortiMail. There's FortiAnalyzer, FortiAnalyzer. So FortiAnalyzer is the first tool, and the second one is FortiSIEM. And then there is FortiSOAR as well. So FortiSOAR and all of those actually are able to do automated responses. So if you have FortiGates and if you have FortiWeb environment or sandbox, according to what the finding is, you can do dedicated response to the finding that was done there. So there's a full integration to CM. So all the log entities can be sent for CM, or you can select what is being sent to CM, or you can send the logs to FortiAnalyzer, and then from Analyzer, you can pass through log information that you want to send for CM solution as you wish. And according to whatever you want to do, basically all responsive capabilities of the surrounding infrastructure plus FortiMail are available, either over API. So if you have such things like webhooks available, you can automate things over webhooks. If there is a DDoS attack or let's say social engineering attack that happens also on other vector, you can have correlation between different vectors, also according to CM findings or FortiAnalyzer findings. So there's a lot of things that you could do, but it's mainly how much you're willing to do through automation. Almost any kind of response is now automatable at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Timo. Looks like that's all questions for today.
Yep.
Ačiū visiems dar kartą klausiusiems. Ačiū, kad domėtės, klausinėjate ir iki kitų pasimatymų. Thanks, Timo.
Yep, thank you.